Hey College Success, this video is mostly for step 5 of your final project, though I'll real quickly go over the other parts of the project thus far. So your final project is due in week 8, so we are quickly approaching that as I'm making this video at the end of week 5 as we're getting ready to go into week 6. So remember, for your project you are completing a PowerPoint, so I'm going to pull up the one that we've been working on thus far together, which I've just kind of created this skeleton. So far we've done our title page, which you'll eventually put your own project name in there with your name. Step 1 is your career description. Remember, the career that you're currently pursuing or that you were thinking of going into, or maybe you just wanted to look into because you might switch majors, whatever the case is. About a 1-paragraph description covering kind of the duties, responsibilities, explaining what your career is to someone who may have never heard of your career before. The next one was the career pathway. Now, some of you may have a couple steps, some of you may have 10 steps. It really just depends how you get into your career. You have to get your 2-year degree, then do you have to get a 4-year degree, or do you have to pass some kind of licensure exam? Do you have to have an internship? What kind of steps is it going to take for you to get into your career? The next step was that professional organization that I did a Google search in steps 3 and 4 video, where you are trying to find a professional association or organization connected to your field. You're going to tell me what the purpose of that organization is, and then 3 benefits of joining. Connected to that, which you could find kind of with your organization, is your code of conduct or ethics. How is one supposed to behave or conduct themselves professionally in that particular field? Okay, so that's kind of a review of those steps. So I told you some places to go for these resources. So, Career Coach, let me get to, was one of the possibilities. So if you're at the Stark State homepage down at the very bottom, there's Career Coach. So you could go right into there and click Browse Careers and find your career and find some of this information in there. You could also be going to the bls.gov and type in your career in the search box there. Or you could go into the ONET online and type in your career there. So there's a couple different places you could go. As I've kind of said in each of the previous videos, just write down where you're going so that you know exactly what sources you got what information from, because that's what step 5 is going to focus on, is giving credit to those sources. So those are places you can go, especially for steps 1 and 2. The description and the overview. Please remember, you are not copying and pasting. That is plagiarism. You are putting the information into your own words and giving credit to that source. Step 3 and step 4 can kind of be together, and that depends on where your organization is. If you are struggling to find one, let me know. I can help kind of do like a search, or we can set up a Zoom, or whatever the case might be. Okay, so the last step we have not talked about yet is just your reference slide. So this is why I said it was so important to keep track of all of these sources that you're using, because you're going to have to use a reference slide for those. So I would recommend going into the OWL at Purdue. If you just do like a quick Google search, OWL at Purdue, and more than likely, my guess is you are going to be using electronic sources. I don't anticipate anyone using anything other than, not saying that you can't, but I don't know that anyone's going to be using a textbook or a journal article or something along those lines. So you would click on, the APA, the reference list electronic sources. So right here, it's going to walk you through how to cite if you are using a web page and you have this information, here's how it's going to look. And it's also going to go through okay, well, wait a minute, if it's written by a group and not a person, here's how it's going to look. It's going to give you lots of different options. If there is no author listed, here's what it'll look like. If there's no date, so it's going to go through and give you just a bunch of different options. It also allows you up here to cite your source automatically. So you can say, hey, I'm going to a website. Here's the URL, and you can put in the URL, and it's going to help you cite it. So let's say, this is a really bad example because I'm just using the general page. Your page will be more specific to your career. Let's say I want to use this. I'm going to type it in. And it's going to take me to Citation Machine, which has gotten very ad-based lately. And it's going to kind of, there's the very basic general information. It's going to double check like, hey, is this what you meant? Is this everything? And if there's more information you need to add, like the dates that you visited, again, yours is going to be more specific because you're not just going to use the BLS. You're going to use, let's say you used physical therapy, which is the example I used in a previous video. You would use like this website right here. You would use the one specific to your field. So once you're in there, it'll create your reference for you right there. So that's kind of a nice little tool there to have. So when you get into your PowerPoint, we'll go references, you will either type them, or if you did it in Citation Machine inside the OWL at Purdue, you can copy and paste. Always review it, make sure it looks okay, make sure it's holding up to kind of the rules, so to speak, of APA. And then you'll put those in that last slide. I also have, like, here's the example of one of my previous students. Here's her citation page. She used the Bureau of Labor Statistics specifically for graphic design. You can see that's why it has her specific field on there. She also used her association and her council. So there's a couple different citations there. So more than likely, you're going to have at minimum 2. I would say minimum, because you're more than likely going to have either the BLS or Career Coach or ONET, or you might have 2 or 3 of them, and then you're going to have your professional organization. So that's minimum 2 of references, and you might have more depending on where you get that, where you got all your information from. So again, please make sure in these particular slides you are not copying and pasting. You are putting information in your own words. Let me close out of this so it doesn't keep making that noise. You are putting information in your own words, and then you can give credit to those sources on this very last slide. Okay, so that is the final project. I've now gone over all 5 steps, so you want to make sure you revisit the directions, and then always check on this rubric to make sure that you've gotten everything there too, so that you can see like, oh, okay, I need to make sure I did this part, or I would give myself a 4 on this. So double check that rubric. All right, so this will be it in terms of the final project videos, but I will touch base regarding the final project as we go about the rest of the few weeks of the semester. Okay, talk to you later.